Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to have a very, very accomplished professional from Los Angeles, USA, Sage Polaris. Sage, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ashutosh. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. Sage is a conscious launch strategist and copy coach for the internet rich and famous, and she's an international speaker. So, Sage, before we get into any questions, tell me about your journey and what made you reach where you are today.
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so I started an online business 10 years ago. And it's so interesting to see, like, I've been on Zoom and all of those things. But initially, I was doing journalism in my local area and some travel blogging. And then I found a book called The Well-Fed Writer by Peter Bowerman. And it was all about marketing and using your words to help sell more on your website. And I fell in love with the marketing world because it's really about connecting people. And then I started doing websites for local business owners and eventually started networking online and getting clients globally and getting more opportunities to work on launches specifically. So in the online education space, I work with speakers and authors a lot of the times, and they have the knowledge base that they want to share with a wider audience. And so it's really fun to share their messaging and the things that they teach. One of my clients, some people might know them, is Lynn Twist and Sarah Vetter from Soul of Money. So they have this beautiful book, but they didn't really have an online course platform. And so I helped them reach their audience with their online courses over the last 3 years.
Okay.
So it's really fun working with people who have a deeper mission like they do.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And you call yourself the Biz Womb Mentor.
Yeah.
Tell me about the work you do here.
Yeah. So it's interesting because along my journey of having this business, I started learning more of my own spiritual practices. And that community specifically is for other service providers like me. They might be a copywriter, they might be a Facebook ads manager. And what I do is I create a space for them and also course creators to come together and talk about everything, not just business, but the spiritual practices. And we have all beliefs in there that they need to continue on in their business, the deeper things that we don't always talk about on the surface when it comes to business. That space is for them. And I am so grateful. It's like the 5th round that I'm running that. And it brings together the most incredible people. And so I support these business owners, but we talk about anything that they need support with. We sometimes have like a hypnotherapist come in and do some releasing of blocks and all that deeper work.
And, it's very intriguing when you say that you awaken your spiritual part of it, and you also are helping authors and a whole lot of other people. What is your role when you are connecting people from the marketing perspective to authors, or you're connecting business leaders to someone who's a hypnotherapist or something of that kind?
Yeah, so when I'm working on projects for a private client, because there's 3 revenue streams in my business. So the private client work, my role is to write their sales pages, their sales emails, all the copy they need to take people from like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad to clicking through to something that they have for free to offer. And then, for example, with Lynn Twist, they have the 3 steps to money forgiveness. You opt in for that, then you're on her email list. And then from her email list, we make offers for them to purchase their products. And then on the Biz Womb side, I am I feel like a leader among leaders. There's this incredible community that I get to bring together, but I facilitate the calls, I facilitate the speakers, and I come in and give them my ideas, but I also open up the floor for everyone to share their ideas with whoever has questions about their business.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And my next question, you Sage, is what goes into writing what's called a high converting copy?
Oh, okay. So this is so fun for me to talk about. So I've identified that there's 4 different types of buyers. So when it comes to high converting copy, the words on your website, you need to be aware of these 4 different types of buyers. And I'll briefly give you like the high level overview. So there's the slower decision maker, the fast decision maker, the fun loving decision maker, and the deep connection decision maker. And those 4 types of people make very distinct buying decisions. So high converting copy to me means applying and understanding that buyer psychology, using words that will attract them, using a layout to the page that will appease their buying type. So that's really what my specific framework, it's called the color-coded copy system, that I apply to everything that I write: sales pages, emails, ads, whatever I'm working on. I use that framework to appeal to the buyers.
Yeah. And you mentioned the 4-step process for this copy. Would you like to share those 4 steps with our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, 100%. So let's use a sales page as an example. So for the fast decision makers, often when people write a sales page, they tend to hide the buy button, like put it further down. You have to scroll to find it. But for the fast decision makers, the first step is to have that button right near the top. And the only other thing that will make a fast decision maker want to click that even quicker is having a testimonial near it of someone else talking about your product, particularly if you can use like a household name. So if we go back to Lynn, she actually was on Super Soul with Oprah. So when we do her sales pages or we write an ad or something, we will often put either a testimonial from Oprah, or she's worked with Jane Goodall, Mother Teresa, like all these incredible people. We tend to use their testimonials near the buttons because we know people will be more likely, especially those fast decision makers, to click that.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Amazing, amazing. And when I was reading about you on your website, you also say that one misunderstanding resulted in $1.25 million in sales.
Yes.
Tell me about this amazing experience.
Yeah, that was a very wild experience. We had 133,000 people sign up for a webinar that my client was doing. And we decided to use prior to me working with that company, they had never let the CEO be the face of the business. It was always the brand name instead. So I love, like, we're talking about this with the brand called You, because that was exactly the misunderstanding they had. They were using the corporate name too much and not the CEO as the face and being the brand of the company. So when we made that shift, it changed everything in the way that people related to their offer. And so we got all of those webinar registrants. And after the webinar, we sold an $11 per month membership. So we got 1.25 million sales in that single launch. And it was so wild to see, but people wanted to feel more connected to the brand of that business. And that was through using the CEOs, as the face of all of that.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. The next question or next query is about, what you say is the Simpsons policy to convert more customers from your sales page. Oh, that's your son. Wonderful.
He came to say good morning. He just woke up. It's morning here in LA.
I know. So I was asking you that, I was reading that you said that the Simpsons policy to convert more customers from your sales page. What does
exactly. I love it so much. So this is, again, with those 4 buyer types, I decided to liken them to the Simpsons character.
So you were telling me about the Simpsons policy to convert more customers from your sales page.
Yeah, so what I was talking about with that, have you seen The Simpsons, by the way,
I have.
Ashutosh?
I have.
Oh, good. I love the show
Mhm.
because it's mainstream and a lot of people know it. So I use that for the framework of the color-coded copy system.
Mhm.
And basically, I likened those different decision makers I was talking about earlier
Mhm.
to the characters on the show. And honestly, I think the show is a little bit problematic in its own way, but that's
Mhm.
another conversation for another day.
Mhm.
But so the fast decision maker that I was talking about earlier,
Mhm.
those are the Barts of the world. Like
Mhm.
they're the born leaders, the CEOs, they make quick decisions.
Mhm.
And Lisa would be a slower decision maker. So
Mhm.
when she comes on your sales page, for example, since we were talking about that earlier,
Mhm.
she's the type to read the whole page.
Mhm.
Like people ask me, do I really need a long sales page for my offer? And I'm like, yes, for the Lisas. They will read the entire page and then they will send you an email with more questions.
Very interesting.
But that's the sales process for them. They ask questions before they buy. So um, that's Lisa. And then should I go over the other 2 characters
Yeah,
too?
please, of course.
Oh, I love it. And do you identify with the first 2 yet? Because
I
I've got
do. I do. Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
Mhm.
So I actually identify as Elisa.
Mhm.
And then the Homer is the fun-loving decision maker I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
He will land on a sales page and he's looking for like unbuttoned language, like
Mhm.
fun and funny gifs or
Mhm.
music lyrics or puns.
Mhm.
Those things will keep the Homers of the world scrolling on your sales page.
Mhm.
And then the last one is the Marge. She is the deep connection decision maker.
Okay.
So when she lands on a sales page or she
Mhm.
reads an ad, she's looking for your story.
Mhm.
She really wants to connect more deeply with who you are.
Mhm.
So that's the Simpsons policy for converting more sales.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about something else I read on your website, which is your conscious launch strategies.
Mm-hmm.
The first one you say is, why do we want to hide after a failed launch or when we have a huge success?
Yeah, it's so interesting when it comes to online business. There's a lot of mindset that goes into your business, right? And so with conscious launch strategies, what I found is like being more aware of how you receive the success in your business. I think, people, I think they're most familiar with being afraid of a failed launch, right? Like you put a lot of work into something, and
Mhm.
launches and online courses is a lot like music. When someone releases an album and they hope
Mhm.
that everyone likes it and it's well received, it's the
Mhm.
same with your launch, right? Like you put a lot of work in the front end and then at the end you hope it's well received, but you won't know until you put it out there.
Right.
So I found, like, interestingly though, like on the other side of the spectrum, like we're all worried that it may not go well.
Mhm.
But sometimes when we have success, it makes us want to hide too, because we're a variety of reasons. Some of my peers have told me they're afraid to share how much money they actually have made online, right? Like
Mhm.
if you did 1.25 million in sales, would you want to share that publicly?
Mhm.
Not everyone would.
Mhm.
So it's an interesting thing, and I've over these years like wanted to be more conscious about my practices with business, because there's human beings behind our online business, right? Like we have this digital footprint, but also I think people get a little caught up in what works for everyone else,
Mhm.
and they don't stop to ask like if that's actually the business they want for themselves. And because I've been in business for myself and most of my clients, they're not working for companies
Mhm.
typically, they are brands, right? Like personal brands. I found that we need to be more conscious about the strategies that we use and check in with ourselves a bit more and make sure these are things that we actually want before we just go after what everyone else seems to have.
Interesting. The second part is that how can we boldly face failure and wins?
Yes, I love this.
Mm,
I found that in my business, especially these last 3 years,
mm,
I started a membership. I wanted to reach a wider audience with my work because for about the first 7 years, you had to know someone to hire me. It was a very referral based
yeah.
private client business. But these last few years, I've wanted to reach a wider audience, and becoming like a bold-faced lover of that means for
Mm,
me being more transparent with my
mm,
audience. I
mm,
found that transparency really builds community. So sharing with them things that are working, sharing with them things that aren't working.
mhm,
And even during a launch, if something goes wrong with the webinar,
mm,
sending a note to them and saying, like, this is what went wrong, but I'm working to
mm,
correct it.
mm. Interesting. I have time
Mhm.
for two more questions. My next one is, what are the conscious launch practices in 2022, given the fact that we had just come out of a pandemic?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time because a lot of people had to pivot, right? Like during the pandemic, they had to
Yeah.
find a different way to do business. And
Mm,
now we're getting back on to people being able to speak in person again
mm,
and all of those things. And I found that we need to acknowledge really like what happened, and to share our stories about our pivots to inspire others, but
mm,
also when we have opportunities to get in front of these audiences,
mm,
definitely don't take it for granted, right?
mm.
Like we
Correct.
we know now how
Mm.
special it has been to be able to do what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, conscious launch practices look different for everyone.
Mm,
For me, I have decided not to do bigger events. I ran a 100-person event in Niagara Falls in 2019, and now I prefer working more intimately with people, and I do private client VIP days where it's just me and them. I just got back from Palm Springs yesterday.
mhm, mhm.
So everyone gets to decide what that means for them, but for me, it's doing more intimate experiences, and just enjoying those as much as I was able to enjoy the other things I did before.
Wonderful. And my last question to you, Sage, after talking to you, you've had quite an amazing journey, doing some amazing stuff. What would you say are three lessons you want the thousands of our viewers and listeners to take away from your journey and from our conversation?
Oh, I love this question. So it's so interesting because it gets me to reflect on the
Mhm.
last 10 years of business.
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest lessons that I learned along the way was whenever I wanted to grow my business in a new way
Hmm.
and I needed support from my network,
Hmm.
I would tell myself, like before I asked to speak in front of someone's community or before I pitch someone for something, I would say, let no come from other places, not myself.
Hmm.
So that was a big lesson for
Yeah.
me for sure. The second lesson I want to share is
Yeah.
to have fun,
Yeah.
because sometimes we want to take things so seriously,
Hmm.
and I get like we really want this brand and this business to work.
Hmm.
Um, but just to remember that it's playful.
Hmm.
I use that word all the time when I go to meetings. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
let's play. And the last third lesson that I've used almost on every call, anytime I turn on Zoom to work with a client, or if I'm meeting with them in person, I ask them, like, what is your intention
Hmm.
for our time together? So
Yeah.
to be very intentional with
Yeah.
everything that I do.
Wonderful. Sage, on that note, and your three wonderful lessons, let no come from others. Don't say it yourself. Number two is remember to have fun. I think that's such an important part of life for each one of us all the time. And the third one, which I love very much, is what is your intention? And that means know yourself, figure out what you want. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your amazing journey, about all the wonderful things that you're doing. And thank you for speaking to me. Good luck.
Thank you. It was my absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.